Welcome to Sacred Caregiving. My name is Barbara, and I wanted to jump on here real quick. And we're about to have snowmageddon 2026 in Oklahoma. And what I mean by that is that from like Friday afternoon through Monday, temperatures are supposed to drop to below freezing. They're expecting that we're going to have several inches of snow. And yes, I know people in the Midwest and people on the East Coast and people in like the northern states are all laughing at me right now. I'm going 4 inches. Please hold my beer. But 4 inches is a lot for, the Great Plains. And, for like the Plain states. And, Oklahoma, yes, is in the south, and yes, we're only getting 4 inches. But, nevertheless, people are losing their dang minds, and it's basically like COVID all over again. Like, the shelves are completely empty at the stores. So, I have said this before, I will say it again. Do your prep work ahead of time. Like, right now, I have canned vegetables up in my cabinet. I have canned goods up in my cabinet. I have dry goods up in my cabinet. I can make several meals out of what I have in my cabinet. Now, I'm going to give you a little tip. If your power goes out and it is below refrigerated temperature, which is, I believe, 42. So if it is below 42 degrees outside, and especially if it's like snowing, you can take like an ice chest, put your perishable food items in there, like put the freezer stuff on the bottom, put the refrigerator stuff on top of the freezer stuff, fill the ice chest either with ice, you can fill it with snow, and you can stick it outside. Because if it's cold enough to snow and it's cold enough for the snow to stick, then we're at freezing temperatures. Which means that until such time as the power goes out, or power comes back on rather, you can leave those items in an ice chest outside in the snow, like on your front patio. I wouldn't suggest like going much beyond like your front or back patio, and make sure that it's in like a covered container so that the animals don't get to it. So that was something that I discovered several years ago. Was I got this brilliant idea when the power went out and my refrigerator and freezer went out. Is I took a bunch of stuff, I put it in my ice chest, I put snow in the ice chest, and I left it outside. And you know what? Pretty much everything was good. I'd basically use it like my refrigerator and my freezer. I'd just like go out, get something from the ice chest that I needed, and go back. So, that's little tip number 1. Little tip number 2 is look around your house ahead of time and think of, or the person that you're caring for's house ahead of time, and look at things that they might need in the event of a power outage, or in the event of, you're not being able to get there and them having to be alone. Things like that. So, like, one of the things that I did was I put a couple extra quilts on my bed today when I was changing my sheets. I put a couple more quilts nearby in my bedroom. I put a couple of quilts out in the living room because that's the other room that I spend the most time in. So I was like, those are the two main rooms that I have like extra quilts and blankets that I can huddle underneath. I have long johns readily accessible. I'm planning on like this weekend just basically like hanging out in my pajamas, huddled underneath my blankets, have the heat on. I'm leaving my cell phone plugged in like all weekend just in case the power does go out. I have a couple of books on my coffee table ready to read in case the power goes out and I can't watch TV. And I start going into withdrawal. I have, my candles ready in case the power goes out. I have my battery operated candles available. I have like little tea lights available and matches next to the tea lights. So think about like little stuff like that you can do like ahead of time to kind of prepare. And I recommend like battery operated flameless candles so that you're not taking a chance of setting the house on fire. Also think about if the person has an electric stove, they're not going to be able to cook. Do they have a way to have meals if the power goes out? Also think about the fact that like grocery stores are probably not going to be delivering in this weather coming up. They're not going to be delivering in bad weather. I know that also check if the person has like a doctor's appointment when the weather's, when they're predicting bad weather, and like call the doctor's office ahead of time and say, hey, are you guys going to be open given that they're predicting this weather? Like I was just at physical therapy today, and they were saying that basically administration has told them all of the outpatient stuff is closing by 12 noon on Friday. Reschedule your patients, see if you can get your patients in earlier, whatever. And then my physical therapist was also suggesting that I call Monday because even though like the snow is over on Monday and it's like going to be in the 40s, there's a possibility because they're up on a hill that the roads might not be accessible. So physical therapy may still be closed. So she's like, call Monday and double check and see if we're open. And I said, okay, I can do that. So I'll call Monday morning and see if they're open. So, do things like that. Make sure they have enough medicine, to get through. If they have refrigerated medicine and the power goes out, do the same thing that you do with the food, is stick it out in a container in the snow. If it's cold enough for snow to stick, then it's cold enough for your perishable food items not to perish. Will it be a constant temperature? No. But that's where the ice chest or an insulated bag comes in, is that it will help to somewhat regulate the temperature. It won't be like a refrigerator or freezer or whatnot, but these are basically like simple inexpensive solutions that you can do, because not everybody has a prepper's pantry full of like 5,000 canned goods and dry goods and toilet paper and all that stuff. And not everybody has a backup generator. So these are just a couple of simple, easy things that you can do to sort of prepare for colder weather. And don't get out if you don't have to. And as my uncle, both of my uncles who drove in snow used to tell me, is that if you have to drive in the snow, keep your car in a low gear and take it very slow and stay on the main roads, because there's more traffic. They will in theory have been plowed. We don't actually have snow plows really in Oklahoma. A lot of times what people do is you'll see the farmers getting out with like you'll see the farmers with like their buckets on the front of their tractors. And they'll just go along and they'll scrape up the snow and act as a snowplow. So, think about little things that you can do between basically now and Friday afternoon to prepare for any kind of winter weather that you might be having. Until then, thank you for being a caregiver. Thank you for watching. Being a caregiver truly is sacred work.